Hello, welcome to Priory Paddock, or in fact I should say, welcome to the award-winning Priory Paddock. This year the Royal Horticultural Society, who have been concerned about the loss of habitat for bees and other pollinating insects, included a category for woodland copse in the Britain in Bloom competition. And so the Friends of Priory Paddock entered the paddock in the National Award scheme, and I am delighted to be able to tell you that the Priory Paddock was awarded the Royal Horticultural Society Gold Award for a site of this type in the country. So we feel very pleased with our efforts there. We're well into autumn now, and whilst some of the bushes and trees in the more sheltered parts of the paddock are having a chance to change the colour of their leaves, the Guelder rose bushes here in the bottom of the paddock have had a chance to change some of their leaves, but I'm afraid we're only half a mile from the Irish Sea, and at this time of the year the vast majority of our leaves get blown off before they've had time to change any colour at all, really. It's been a very strange year weather-wise. We had a very miserable spring, followed by a dark, wet, dreary and cold summer. One of the results of that is that whilst autumn is supposed to be the season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, in the paddock this year we have had relatively little fruit. The Guelder rose bushes are heavy with berries, but they are the exception. There were a few elderberries, which have all been eaten now. There are a few haws on the hawthorn bushes, but very little else. What happened was that during the summer, plants flowered very well in some cases. The bramble bushes are a good example. There was lots of blackberry blossom, but unfortunately the weather was so poor that before the flowers could be pollinated, they withered. The petals were blown off them. There were no insects about, and so in many cases we were left with trusses of withered flowers. And then in September the weather improved, and the last part of September and the earliest part of October produced the best weather we've had all year. Lots of sunshine, and suddenly the late flowers on the blackberries set fruit, and so we have the strange appearance of blackberry bushes with trusses of withered flowers and hands of nice juicy fruit on the same bush. The old country saying used to be that the devil spits on the blackberries at Michaelmas, which is the end of September, the feast of St. Michael. I think it's the 29th of September. But it hasn't happened this year. He has been very dilatory. He hasn't been doing his job this year. And the late fruit are juicy and sweet. One of the effects of the summer was that we had no coloured butterflies here at all. I was speaking to somebody recently who told me that across the county as a whole it has been the worst year on record for butterflies. And then, as I said, in September suddenly the sun shone, and at the end of September 24 red admirals appeared all at the same time and took full advantage of the ivy flowers on the wall at the top of the paddock. The ivy is a very interesting plant in that, unlike most other plants, it has its flowers in the autumn and it has fruit in the spring. It's a niche which it occupies brilliantly, because at this time of the year there is very little else around for the insects, but the ivy, which is beautifully scented, is at this time of the year covered in bees and hoverflies and butterflies when they are around. And that can be seen, could be seen here in the paddock. There were lots and lots of bees and hoverflies on the ivy. The flowers set readily and are well on their way to becoming nice juicy black ivy berries for the blackbirds in the spring. And amongst the insects we saw here was a female, a queen white-tailed bumblebee, feeding herself up before she hibernates, ready to start a new hive in the new nest in the spring. Many of the flowers which flower at the end of the summer rely on warm weather and autumn breezes to spread their seeds. They have seeds that are distributed aerially, and they have appendages, feathery appendages called pappuses, or maybe papae, which dry and open in the wind, and the light breezes carry them away. And I'm sure you're all aware of summer days where the air is full of thistledown. I'm afraid it didn't happen very much this year. The flowers had seeds with pappuses on them, but the pappuses became waterlogged and the seeds are still stuck to the seed heads, which will be of great benefit to the birds in the winter. The finches in particular, goldfinches and chaffinches, will come in here in the winter and feed on the seeds of the Codlinson cream, that's the tall plants in the middle of the paddock, and on the various thistles and other plants around. One feature of autumn on a damp morning is that we often see gossamer spreading across meadows, and the gossamer is spun by spiders who use it to ride on the wind. And autumn is definitely the season for spiders. I'm sure you all have them at home, and we've got some very nice ones here in the paddock, including nice examples of the garden spider, which is a nice brown one with cream markings. There's been relatively little in the way of fruit, as I said, but where there has been, as under the crabapple tree at the top of the paddock, that had a reasonable number of apples on it. Some of them are still on the tree, but a lot have fallen down and have been greedily eaten up by the blackberries, the blackbirds here. And you can see the remains of apples lying on the ground. Right, well, that's what has happened in the paddock over the last month. I'm afraid we are well on our way towards winter now. Come back in a month and see how it's got on. Cheerio.